Hello, everyone. I am Leroy Hill Jr., and I am your presenter for preparing and pacing in your presentation. This is huge. Let me give you a little bit about myself, and then maybe that'll help you understand. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and a great-grandfather who pastors, who's a president of a college, university, seminary. I also lead a national organization. And guess what, y'all? I'm a life coach too, and I serve with Momentum Makers. So preparing is very important. And pacing is very important, because if I'm not prepared and I'm not ready, things get out of hand real quickly, don't you think? So timing is very, very important. And so today we're going to look at the two parts of preparing and pacing. Obviously, preparing is first, preparation, and then secondly, we're going to look at pacing. So with that in mind, turn to page 58 in your manual. We're going to look at preparing your presentation. Now, this is what I call the biggie of the 6 I's. Preparing is the biggie because it's going to deal with investigate. Investigate. The biggie of the 6 I's is investigate. Why is that important? Well, you're going to spend half your time preparing to investigate your content so that you can give a good presentation. Investigate. Investigate is to observe, pay attention, to study, take a close examination. It's a systematic inquiry, and it has a lot of other synonyms. Somebody give me some synonyms of what you think investigate means. Just no answer is wrong unless it's really wrong. But okay, all right. Give me some synonyms. What do you think investigate means?
Research.
Research.
Study.
Study. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Expert.
Expert. Thank you, Brad. That's good. That's good. Anybody else?
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Anybody a fan of Chicago PD? No, nobody in here watches Chicago, but I guess just me. Okay. Whew, all right, but so this illustration is really going to go south, but we're going to use it anyway. Well, Chicago PD is based on the Chicago Police Department, the intelligence unit. And the intelligence unit is run by Sergeant Hank Voigt. And Hank Voigt's favorite phrase to his detective investigators, who are the intelligence agency, whenever they're stuck with something, he always says, keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. When you are an investigator, you got to dig and dig and dig to get the information that you need so that you will have a good presentation. And so those words are apropos for this time. And so you're going to spend half your time in preparing to investigate. This includes creating your speaking or teaching outline and I'm going to say preacher voice, 3 points, but that's not true. You're going to have your points within it. I'm going to ask Kinsley, would you read that second and third bullet under spend half your time preparing to investigate?
This includes creating, speaking, or teaching outline and the points within it. This includes any research on your topic. This includes studying to become knowledgeable of the content.
Wow, studying to become knowledgeable of your content. Studying, of course, is acquiring the information that you need to know so that when you present it, it makes sense, right? Can I just give you a tip as one who has been an investigator for a long time? And I got this from my communications teacher years ago when I was in college. So you already know I'm a granddaddy, and a great granddaddy. So I'm really not that old. I just got started young. But I am over 60. That's about as far as I'm going to tell you. But anyway, I learned this some years ago while I was in college. If you want to be a good investigator and presenter, the 3 C's will help you. Be clear, be concise, and be coherent. So that means you got to really gather your information and get what's pertinent to the subject matter, and then make sure you're clear and you're concise and coherent. That's what happens when you understand your topic, you research for your topic, you're studying and get the knowledge for your content so it can be clear and coherent. And so that's very important. If you will look down in that orange box there, the developer and founder of this marvelous Momentum Makers, Kevin Hinman, he gives some of his ways that he approaches. And we're going to look at what he says about preparing the investigate. Corey, if you don't mind, would you read that first bullet there under preparing the investigate?
Identify the main theme and the key points of the presentation, then research the topic, and develop the outline of the presentation and clarify the key points. Review the outline and add the sub-points.
Thank you so much, Corey. So Kevin says one of the things he does that's a main point is he identifies the significance of his theme, and he makes sure he selects the key points of that presentation, and then he digs, he investigates it, he digs, and then he develops an outline, here it is, for clarity. He's going to clarify the points. Then he reviews the outline, and then if necessary, he adds some subpoints. So that helps you to be clear, concise, and coherent. Does that make sense? Sure does. So that's the first half of preparing your presentation. The second half of preparing your presentation deals with the other 5 I's. So if the first half was investigate, how in the world are we going to be able to get the 5 I's to equal the preparation time? That's a good question. You've got to carefully think it through, right? Now, you've heard earlier that your invite is imperative, right? The invite does what? Hooks you. Got to get that hook in there, right? You want to get them to go with you, and you want to have their attention. In our communications class, our professor came in one day, and we were sitting there, and he said, "Hey, you!" You see, some looked at me, some give. Yeah, that just got our attention. First of all, we thought he crazy today, but he did get our attention. You want to think through your invite, but then you want to what? You want to inform. You know, it's a terrible thing to have a map and you don't follow it, right? So you want to let people know we're starting here and we're going over here. So you want to inform people. That's very, very important. How do you do that? You think through that very, very carefully. Then you want to illustrate it. Picture this. Anybody remember the Golden Girls? Y'all seen it? Am I dating myself? Wow. Well, it was 3 friends. They lived together, and the mother of the daughter, she would always tell her Italian stories, and she would say, "Picture this," as if to illustrate what she was getting ready to say, not only to inform them, but to get their attention. Now she's going to illustrate it. Then, of course, what's the next I, y'all? Involve. So now that's where you can invite people to do something with you. You can say, "John, say this," or you can say, "Brad, read that," or you can ask a question. You want to put that into your development. And so that's very important. And finally, and significantly, is the implement. So now, here's how we invite you to do this. First, you want to plan a strong invite. Get the hook of the audience. And then next, you want to plan an oriented action plan that will cause the readers and the students to get involved and do something with what they've just learned, and we call that implement. I call that the bookends of a good presentation. Invite, implement, right? You get a strong invite and get them to follow you through. When you get to the conclusion, implement, now you got a good bookend, okay? And you've covered it all, and you've told them what you told them. Now you're asking them to do something with it, And that's the implementation. I'll call that the bookends. And then you want to plan a strong illustrate, produce a visual or a heart connection with your group. You want to also then begin to involve them in this experience. I call this the connection of continuous movement. You want to connect them and continually move in the presentation. Once you get their attention, you connect them, and you might say, hey, Drew, what do you think about that? Hey, Nick, what do you think about what Drew said? You know, just involving. But then at the same time, you might want to ask Preston to come up and do this, or you might want to have Dallas to do that, right? Or you might want to have somebody speak through here, right? You just want to just keep the flow going. You got a good invite, you inform, you illustrate, you involve, you implement, but it's all based on the investigation. Y'all see that? You see that corollary? And so that's very, very important. So with that being said, Lance, will you read Preparing the Other Five Eyes as our dear founder has written his preparation?
Yeah, Preparing the Other Five Eyes. I consider the opening invite and how to grab the audience's attention. I spend much time on this, and I plan it in detail. Then I plan the implement to drive the message to application. I try to have a visual tool for my implement to reinforce the key thing. Then I set down my notes and I go for a walk or out in public. I think of practical ways to illustrate the key points. This may take several hours, or it could take a few days. I consider visual aids, current events, stories from my own experience, etc. Ideas gradually come to me for use as illustrates or involves. I work all five eyes into my original outline, and I review the presentation several times before speaking. I make sure that it fits the time allowed.
Well, thank you, Lance. I appreciate that. And so you see then, investigate, heavyweight, but you don't want to neglect the other five eyes. And so you want to put some time into that too, because that helps you to unpack and to reveal and to utilize your skill set, your creativity. That's all important when we're talking about preparing to present, and that's significant. Any questions that anybody may have at this point in time, because I want to give you opportunity to voice anything, because sometimes I talk fast with gusts of 60 miles an hour. Anybody, any questions? Are we good? Okay. All right. So then if I were to say, Russ, what's the biggie? What's the heavyweight of preparing? What would you say back to me?
Investigate.
Investigate. Fantastic. Brad, if I were to say, what's the bookend of this preparation time, what would you say?
Invite and implement.
All right. Fantastic. That sounds good to me. Avery, what would you say is a good involvement strategy?
To include your audience in your presentation.
Fantastic. You guys are awesome class. You're awesome. And so I appreciate everybody paying attention and learning. And now we're going to look at part B of our preparing and pacing in our presentation.